Today I want to talk about 5 basics to get a nice, green, healthy Bermuda lawn. That's right, I got the lawn that you see behind me doing really basically only 5 things. So if you want a really nice, green, healthy Bermuda lawn, then stick around. I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. Okay, let's get right into it. Number 1, you got to have weed control. There's nothing that makes a Bermuda lawn or any lawn look worse than being full of weeds. So 2 things that you need to remember. So number 1, pre-emergent applications. So follow your local extension guidelines and apply your pre-emergent. I do twice a year, so I do late winter, early spring. That's going to be my crabgrass preventer. Then I'm going to do another app in late summer or early fall. This is going to prevent my winter weeds like POA. Pre-emergent is one of the best things you can do to have a nice green Bermuda lawn. Alright, the second thing to keep in mind is post-emergent weed control. So every single lawn, I don't care how good it looks on YouTube, is going to have some weeds. And until you get your pre-emergent pattern down, you're going to have some weeds that pop up. So post-emergent is important. You want to get just a broad spectrum type of a weed product. I use a Spectracide weed stop for lawns. You can use an ortho. Use what works for you, but my recommendations are that you buy the concentrate. Don't buy the ready to mix. You're going to save a lot of money if you buy the concentrate. And just be prepared that first season or so in your property, if it hasn't had proper maintenance, then you're probably going to have to do some post-emergent weed control. If you do this, though, I promise you, each year you're going to see less and less weeds, and eventually you're going to be down to using just a little bit of that post-emergent weed control as needed. Alright, the number 2 basic for a nice green Bermuda lawn is Scalp It. So it goes dormant during the winter and the fall season, so you're going to have to scalp that Bermuda lawn if you want a nice, healthy green lawn. I've got another video on how I scalp my lawn, but to sum it up, you just basically drop your mower deck down and you want to remove that brown, dead, dormant material. You want to do this when the lawn is about 50% green. That's in the late winter, early spring for most. And what this is going to do is help you get a good early green up. And it's also going to remove that material and reduce your chances for thatch and disease. Alright, so number 3 tip, now we're getting into some of the fun stuff. You got to feed it. We all hear that Bermuda loves nitrogen. This is true. So follow extension guidelines for your local area. Bermuda does love nitrogen, and it does have to be fed. There's nothing that looks worse than an underfed Bermuda lawn, in my opinion. So for me, that's going to be about once a month during the growing season. I follow the UGA guidelines. You may want to follow some that are more specific to your area. And what you want to do is feed it with a good fertilizer. It doesn't have to be expensive. I use just a cheap big box product, a 2904. That works great for me. Just make sure you're feeding it per your local extension guidelines. One tip I have is make sure to get a product that does contain some slow release. You don't want your lawn to grow out of control. You'll be out there mowing every day, so make sure you get something that has a little bit of slow release in it, and use what works best for you, but make sure you do feed it. Okay, so we got 2 more tips, and I want to make sure you do know that if you don't do these last 2 tips, the first 3 are not going to give you that greater results. Alright, tip number 4, water it. You've got to water a Bermuda lawn. I have heard videos on YouTube telling you that, hey, Bermuda it loves the heat. It may not need as much water as other grasses. Well, I'm here to tell you that simply isn't true. If you look at your extension office guides, as a matter of fact, mine show that Bermuda wants the same amount of water as fescue, which I find to be absolutely true. A Bermuda lawn that's not watered properly is going to have stress. It's going to check out just like any other kind of grass. It may take it a little bit longer, but if you don't get that 1 inch of water down per week, then it's going to have some issues. I would suggest that you pick up a cheap rain gauge. That will save you a lot of money when it comes to watering. If you're getting 1 inch of water per week from natural rain, you're good to go. If you're not getting 1 inch of water per week, then you need to break out the sprinklers or run your irrigation system. But make sure you're getting about 1 inch of water, and you'll keep your lawn nice and happy. Okay, the last and most important tip, number 5, you've got to mow it, and you've got to mow it right. Biggest tip on mowing is make sure you follow the 1/3 rule, so you don't ever want to remove more than 1/3 of your grass blade when you're mowing. And for Bermuda, that may mean you're out mowing a couple times a week during the growing season. It does like to grow. Nothing looks worse than a poorly mowed Bermuda lawn. And there's a reason for this. If you mow it too low, or if you mow improperly, you're gonna cut down into that ugly brown material, and you're just gonna have a crappy looking lawn. There's no two ways around it. You know, drive through your neighborhood and you'll see lawns that are even maintained by companies, but they're mowed too low and they look like crud, honestly. So mowing is one of the most important things that you have to get right on your Bermuda lawn. And what it really comes down to is that you've got to find your sweet spot on your lawn. So that's going to be a combination of the correct height. If it's a bumpy lawn, you're going to have to raise that deck up. Mine's bumpy. I mow 2 to 2.5 inches. That's one thing that you don't really go by a guide on. You got to know what's best for your lawn. That's going to be found through experimenting and just looking visually to see, you know, how it looks. The other thing to keep in mind is how often do you want to be out there mowing it. So the lower you're going to have that deck set at, if you want to keep a super low Bermuda lawn, you're going to have to be out there a lot mowing it. So bumping that height up a little bit will gain you a little bit of time between mowings, but you just got to find that sweet spot at the end of the day. Other tips on mowing are, number one, make sure you got a really sharp blade. Number two, make sure that you alternate your patterns each time. That's going to help prevent those ruts in your lawn. And then number three, mulch and return those clippings. Those clippings have a lot of nutrients that your lawn is going to need and can actually cut down and save you a little bit of money on that fertilizer. Just going to take a quick pause. So if you made it this far in the video, I hope you're enjoying it. Please make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. I definitely have a lot of things planned for the upcoming season on both this Bermuda and my backyard. So definitely do me a favor, throw a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Okay, that's it. That's my 5 tips on how I get this lawn to be nice and healthy and green. My family came over this weekend and the first comment they said was, "Is that fake?" When you hear a comment like that on your lawn, then you know you're successful. So I hope these 5 simple tips help. They can be our secret. You don't have to tell anybody that you didn't spend a fortune on your lawn. Just tell them it's a lot of work, and that's definitely true. So follow these 5 basic tips. There certainly are other things that you may have to encounter and do as needed. Keep that in mind. There's extra things you can do, but these 5 tips are going to work and give you a nice and healthy lawn. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.